So I want to speak a bit about safety, and one of the things I get so much being a professional downhill rider is that I must have no fear, that I must just go out there, throw caution to the wind, and throw myself down a hill. And it's really just not true. For all of the pros that you'll talk to, everything is really calculated. Because to progress, it means that we have to practice, and to practice, we can't take that much risk every single time. It's not sustainable. And so really the way that I reason about it is the feeling that I get. I think we've all kind of gone up to a jump, and sometimes you feel butterflies. That's fine. We all feel butterflies when it's something maybe we haven't done. It's that uncertainty. I think the feeling that you're really trying to avoid is being nervous. When you don't know what's going to happen and you think that the way to conquer that is just to, ante up. And that is the realm where you're going to get hurt. So butterflies, good. Being nervous about, do I have the skills? That's kind of the no-go zone. And staying in that anxious but good zone is going to allow you to have many, many, many more healthy days on the bike, ride for much longer, and actually progress much faster because you're not going to be maybe sitting in the hospital. One story that I feel like illustrates this idea of, risk versus reward is this year on the World Cup. Thibaut Deprella was riding so well, but he was just pushing the limits. He was at the limit and he was successful. He won a race. He blew everyone's mind. People were kind of talking about, is he going to be able to sustain this? And it looked like he was. And then next thing you know, he goes to a French Cup and has this huge crash and almost, bites off his tongue. It was insane. We go to the next race and, everyone was like, okay, that's going to slow him down and he's going to be more calm now. And he ends up getting second place. And I remember I was interviewing him and he could barely talk. He was like, thank you. It was great. I had a good run. And, it was kind of like, well, shouldn't everyone be taking this risk? If Thibaut is getting away with it, then I should be taking that risk. And he was way out in front coming into the last race. I think he was, 400 or 500 points ahead. And everyone thought it was over. All he had to do was get a top 20. And, he could do that in his sleep. And he would be the World Cup overall champion. And next thing you know, qualifying comes around and he makes a mistake and slides out in turn. And so there is some points lost. He comes to the finals run of that first doubleheader race and makes a little mistake and his wheel blows up and he can't finish. So now goes from a 400 point gap to a 250 point gap or somewhere around there. And then after that, in that next race, it all comes down to the finals. It's a super final. So all the qualifying points are on this one run. In practice before the race, he crashes and breaks his leg really bad and can't race. And so now all of this risk that he was taking, all of this time, all of this thought came down to this last race. And even though he was super far ahead, it wasn't sustainable to ride in the way that he was riding. He just couldn't get away with it for so long. And, talking with him after, he just said that I needed to be smarter. I think, coming into the next season, I'll know now that I can back it off. There's two speeds or more than two speeds that I can kind of take into account. And he ended up costing him the championship. And so I think that even when you have somebody like that who is willing to accept the consequences, who has this amazingly strong mindset, that risk still catches up to him. And I think it's in contrast to, Loic Bruni, who ended up winning the championship, who was consistent and maybe had a couple of mistakes, but was able to finish the season and perform when it counted. So I think it's just a really cool lesson for us to think about when we go out and ride that, it's not all about taking that risk. It's really about saying how can I stay in the game so I can win the overall? And that might be, making it down the hill faster than your friend. But I thought that was super fascinating. Risk to me is really about it's not binary. It's not that if I take risks, I'm going to fall, or if I don't take risks, I'm not going to fall, but it's going to be boring. It's really about finding what you're comfortable with. We all like to feel something when we ride or, have fun. And so we're all kind of on the spectrum of risk, but I think it's the thing to watch out for is to think that the more risks I take, the more reward I can get. And so you don't want to kind of conflate those two things. The risk that you take should allow you to have fun, be alive, and enjoy what you do. But it shouldn't be taken so far because you just want something so bad.